Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals publish and get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable merger and acquisition specialists and business brokers from across the country and even in your town. The great resignation has been in the news, and it's been shaking up the business industry in ways that you couldn't even predict. And so joining me on this segment are Ken Gilbert and Dan Tabori. They're senior consultants with BCR, which is Senior Business Consulting Resources. Ken and Dan, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good to see you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Great to see you. Tell us a little bit about your work, and specifically, who are the types of clients that you work with?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. Well, this is our 40th year of working in the M&A and management consulting world in Hawaii, California, and across the U.S. Our clients are typically middle market. I would say 10 to $100 million grossing companies. We work a lot with family-owned companies, and we work with corporate world across the nation, many different industries, from professional service firms, architects, engineers, et cetera, to operating companies, distributors, food, construction, and many different industries that we're quite experienced with. You want to add to that, Dan?
No, that's right. And what we do is we engage them kind of early on in the process. Kind of, we're a little bit different than just a business broker. We do a lot of kind of value add consulting for succession planning. And sometimes succession is sort of external sale, and sometimes it's internal and maybe generational, and sometimes management buyout. So we typically work with some of our clients up to a couple of years, even prior, which prepares them well for sale and for valuation. Yeah.
Terrific. So speaking of this great resignation, it's shaken up businesses all around the world. And, people have been motivated to leave the Dilbert cube and get into business on their own and purchase a business. And I'd imagine it's inspired a lot of people to sell their businesses. How has this affected your industry, and kind of what have you seen out there?
Yeah, it's very, very active. We're seeing probably more activity now than we have in a long time. I think it also, besides the environment that we're in, it's also the baby boomers, that are now in their 60s and 70s and looking at exiting. And a lot of people getting into businesses, a lot of acquirers, a lot of sellers, a lot of buyers. Dan, you can add to that, but yeah, it's pretty active.
Yeah, it is active. I think that there's maybe two classes of companies right now. I mean, there's companies who have thrived and continue to thrive even through the pandemic, and they're positioned very strongly. And then there are companies who got tired during the pandemic or have been affected a little bit more, a little harsher, and maybe they're not as positioned for sale, and so their type of sale is a little different than ones who are thriving, right? So we've seen both of those situations that in a typical market you may not, where somebody may hang out and hang on for a while, but COVID has definitely changed some of that.
Yeah, one of our specialties is working with family-owned companies, and over 40 years. So what we've seen happening because of the pandemic is a lot of the current generation, whether it's first, second, or third, have become a lot more aggressive about wanting to transition their business to the next generation. Oftentimes there's a major resistance, but I think the pandemic has encouraged a lot of businesses, including family businesses, to be more proactive and more aggressive about succession.
And being such a unique time in the world, and having just gone through this pandemic on the tail end of it, is it actually a good time to sell a business right now? What have you seen?
Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's so super interesting. So I would say there's a couple of things that I've learned that some are surprising, and one is, pre-pandemic, when you're especially when you're selling to an external buyer, right? Whether it's we're out of Hawaii, we do a lot of our transactions. That's where we're based out of. We do work in the West Coast. But when you look at, people who are coming into Hawaii as investors, right? Pre-pandemic, you really are looking at scheduling. When are they visiting Hawaii? They want to kick the tires. Now in this world of Zoom, like we're doing today, we did a sizable transaction last year that with a major company all over Zoom, and so the ability to engage people quicker is something that I think the industry has pivoted on the buy side. Because if you're interested, you can get on tomorrow. You're not waiting until you're actually coming here for maybe, Thanksgiving break or something to go check out companies. So that's one thing where, I definitely am seeing. And then there's a lot of money out there right now, especially in certain industries that not necessarily operators, but investors, whether it's private equity money that wants to be invested in, especially businesses with recurring revenue. So they're very much looking at that, especially ones who have shown resilience during the pandemic. So we're not seeing a lack of interest on that side at all. It's really about looking at the companies who want to sell and seeing if they are positioned correctly in today's world. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that we pay attention to. It's not lack of buyers.
Terrific insight. And it also made me think that people selling for the first time, oftentimes they've been in the business maybe 15, 20, 40 years, maybe the first time they've ever even sold a business. So for a lot of folks, they don't know what they don't know. What are sort of like the biggest questions that you get from folks when they're considering selling?
Yeah, whether they should sell, or what kind of valuation do we feel they have, and who's the buyer, where will they come from? One of the big issues is confidentiality. They don't want their employees or the community or their competitors to know they're for sale. So, when we got into the M&A brokerage business, it really was generated through our consulting practice, where a client said, I've decided I want to sell. And what we learned was, let's get in, assess, evaluate, prepare the company for sale, work with the seller so they better understand the process and what they need to do to prepare and position the company for sale. So, but yeah, there's a lot of trepidation. There's a lot of uncertainty. So I think value is always a big deal. I thought I could sell it for 10 million, and the valuation comes out at $1.5 million, and they say, well, I can't sell for that. So then we have to go through the process of growing the enterprise. Dan, you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think definitely on understanding the true value of your company. And, another area is, most of these family businesses are first-time sellers, like you said, Mark. And for them, this is their life's work, a lot of them. And so there is probably a couple of things that are important. We talk to them about their life plan, because they need to be prepared for what's next, and get excited about that. And so that's number one. And then what you'll find in family businesses or small middle market businesses, they really care about the business that they grew. And so they want to know, they don't want to lose that culture. It's not necessarily an exit only financially. They're very concerned about their employees. And so, it's going through that journey as well of comfort. And so that's something that we look at. If we get engaged a little too late in the game sometimes, and I tell people it's never too late, I'd say that, but it's never too early, really. 5 years prior to wanting to sell is really starting to think about a plan is good. Because if they're like, look, I want to be out and I don't want to be doing this in 6 months. And, people who are entering into let's say a market from another market, it's the relationships and the people that they're really investing in. And so if you're not ready to really be part of that, or it's too late for that, you're not in a position to really maximize what you have the opportunity to do. So we caution people to wait too long as far as planning. And so that's why I think Ken was talking about our consulting clients. We spend a lot of time with them getting them ready, right? And so, but they are, I'd say 90% of them are first-time sellers, and maybe the only time they'll sell a business, for sure.
Speaking about those first-time sellers again, what are some of the maybe biggest mistakes or pitfalls that they fall into, not knowing what they don't know when it comes to preparing to sell their business. Have you seen a couple of big mistakes that you can warn people about?
Yeah, I think a big mistake is not having your financial matters in order, your financial statement, the accuracy of your information and data. And, obviously having issues of taxes or filing of things of that nature is a big mistake. It'll be a problem. Not having successors built into the company, operating people. So if the husband and wife are the three partners that are in the business are now in their 60s and they running everything and they haven't trained or developed successors to take over their key roles, that's a big issue. Relationship management, if the relationship is with the founders or owners and hasn't been transferred to the operating team, the buyer comes in and says, well, if you sell and you leave, I'm not going to have much left over, and it's a big issue. So they really have to put a strategy together to make sure they move on those initiatives. Dan, you might want to add to that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think of it in three pillars, if you will, Mark. I mean, I think in Ken's touched, maybe I'll touch the third. I mean, the financial, super important. Understanding your financials, being able to have them clean financials. Small businesses have mixed financials. The people is super critical, right? Developing talent, because a strong management bench. And the third is kind of operational excellence, call it that. That's the third pillar, where if you're running it like a mom and pop, when they come in to do due diligence, they'll see that. And so companies, some of them you'd be surprised, they're small, but they're in tune with best practices nationally, and they're investing in technology, and they look like a company that's operating professionally, right? And so professionalizing the organization is critical in that third pillar. And again, never too late to start talking about it early, because what the way we look at it, and we're kind of unique, we do a diagnostic assessment the first 60 days, really deep dive, get to know the business. And so that's how we engage. And so we look for clients who want us to engage at that level, where we're really going to be advisors in the business. And during that assessment, we look at those pillars and we figure out, okay, where do you stand as far as, I'm always thinking like a buyer. I've been a buyer and I want to think like a buyer. When I'm looking at it, what will I see? And we're there to help you prepare. And if you're really ready, and there are some that are, you're ready to talk in 60 days. Sometimes we'll recommend that, let's work on something for 6 months.
Yeah, I just might add, Dan said something really important. All of our consultants, we've got quite a crew in Hawaii and across the US. We've all owned and operated our own businesses. So in addition to being consultants, and in addition to having advanced degrees in diverse industries, we've all been on the front lines operating. So when we get in front of the owners, 25, 50, $100 million companies, they see that we not only know our industry of helping succession and transition of companies, but that we've operated companies. And that's a really important ingredient to helping us understand what's going on in their minds and in their companies.
Ken, Dan, you guys are in Hawaii. You seem to be having a great time over there. I'm in cold Chicago right now in like 7-degree weather, and you're helping a lot of folks. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get into mergers and acquisition and become business brokers. How'd you get started?
Well, 40 years ago, we started the company. Actually, my wife and I started the company 40 years ago. Dan's one of our key pillars, along with many others. And we saw, from having run and operated businesses ourselves, that there were a lot of voids, a lot of unknowns, a lot of issues and problems that people were having. And after going through a lot of experiences ourselves, we decided we wanted to dedicate ourselves to helping others and making a difference. Why do we do this? And also, one of our very first clients concluded that he was going to sell his company in the first year of our business. And we said, well, let us go help you find a business broker. And he said, no, I want you to sell it. You know me, I trust you, you know my business, you help me make the decision. And the light bulb went on, and it was like, wow, we have these relationships as management consultants and business consultants. And when these clients want to sell, or it's time for them to transition internally to family or externally, we are probably the best qualified to do it. So I think, and then that just started to grow across the nation. So we're bringing companies into Hawaii, we're selling, taking our clients, and now we've become a national boutique company. It's quite amazing.
Dan, how'd you get into the field?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So, yeah, I have a unique story. I'm actually, and maybe not that unique, Ken, but unique in that I was a client of, or I should say, BCR was a client of mine. I ran I was
You
executive
mean
VP.
BCR was retained by you?
Retained by me, right, to help with succession planning. Okay, and so I've kind of gone through that, and then I kind of discovered this area, and I've done a lot of entrepreneurial stuff, started companies within, let's say, umbrellas of companies I was involved with. I've done some high-tech ventures here in Hawaii. I've done a lot of real estate related, started a mortgage company, sold mortgage company, title and escrow. And so I've got myself entrenched in the business community here, and then realize, and it is a small business community, very relationship oriented, and there is a need, like anywhere else, in figuring out what's next for companies out there. And so it's something that I enjoy doing, and I felt I was maybe good enough to help other people, and it sort of worked out that way. And I really enjoy it. It gets me up, and finding the right fit. I think one of the unique things about BCR and the way we work with even our buyers, who are not necessarily our clients, a lot of them do retain us later on, because we bring a lot of value. We know the company really well, right? We're not taking listings and that kind of business broker. We're very much value add. So we stay in close contact, and we like to say they're still our friends. We're very proud of every transaction we've done. And because we care about the people and the employees, we never recommend a sale unless we think it's a good fit. And so that's sort of unique about us, and that excites me. That's what excites me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our two longest term clients have retained us for 38 years. Mm-hmm. And we've transitioned those companies into their next generation of family. And the next generation has continued to retain us to help them continue to grow the enterprise.
That's terrific. Before I ask you my last question, for folks looking to sell their business, thinking about it maybe for the first time, and they don't know where to start, what's the most important thing they should consider when choosing a business broker to work with?
Yeah, obviously experience is really critical. They've been around a long time. References is huge. Talk to people that they've worked with. Fit. I think chemistry. From the heart. What is it important? How we think and who they're looking for. I think knowledge of their industry, markets. We're in California, we're in Texas, we're in Florida, we're in the East Coast. So knowledge of markets around the U.S. or otherwise is important. And do your homework, and get to know the right people.
So for folks tuning in now that are thinking about selling their business, or folks looking to purchase a business and want to see what's out there and available, how can they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Sure. Look at our website, businessconsultingresources.com, businessconsultingresources.com. And Dan's and my emails are similar. Mine's ken@bcrhawaii.com. Dan is dant@bcrhawaii.com. And but look at our website. I think it's very descriptive, businessconsultingresources.com. And we've got a team in California and a team in Texas and so forth and so on. So we're happy to entertain buyers and sellers from across the nation.
Yeah, this has been I would just add terrific.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Mark. Yeah, the thing I would just add is, there's always a trepidation for people to reach out, right? And we deal in absolute confidentiality. That's our our lifeblood, and we do a lot of exploratory conversations before we agree, even on our side, to engage to make sure we can help. So people shouldn't be worried about having those initial conversations. I think it helps them. We help give them some questions to think about and make sure that they're ready. And so, yeah, anything we can do to help people think it through, that's sort of the first
Yeah,
way we look.
and Mark, I just want to let you know it's going to be 83 degrees, blue sky, and the trade winds are blowing. So anytime, now you know why we live in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Thank you for rubbing that in, and you enjoy working in paradise. While just last week I was in Sedona and then came back to 7 degrees here in Chicago. But spring break is right around the corner. So
Yeah.
Right. So,
There
well,
you go.
in Hawaii we say aloha.
aloha. So
Yeah,
Ken and Dan, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Good. Stay in touch. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Mark. Take care.
That was Ken Gilbert and Dan Tabori, senior consultants with Business Consulting Resources. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for tuning in.